Hey, it's been a minute. A lot has happened, a lot has changed, and some of it you saw pieces of on Instagram and TikTok. Some of it you didn't. You didn't see it all because I needed to live it before I could talk about it. So today I'm going to close that gap. Welcome back and let's get into it. Hi, everyone, and welcome to season 2 of Afterbirth Podcast. If you're new here, welcome. Genuinely, I am so glad you found us. My name is Stephanie, and I'm your host and the founder of Afterbirth Collective, which is a platform creating honest conversations for single mothers and women redefining themselves beyond survival. Afterbirth is the home for women who are ready to step into their next chapter, whatever that looks like for them. I built this space because I needed it and it didn't exist yet. Not like this. Not with this type of honesty. So I made it. This season is titled How to Reclaim Your Life. I'll be bringing on some guests throughout the season, but for the most part, it's going to be me in your ears, walking you through a step-by-step playbook of how to get to the other side of the life I was surviving and how you can rebuild your own version of the other side. If you're familiar with my story, you already know I've survived and endured a whole lot. Court battles, co-parenting with someone who made it very difficult every step of the way, rebuilding an identity that got buried under trying to make it through the day, and I refused to let that be for nothing. So when I decided to reclaim myself and my life, I made it a promise to myself that I was going to become the person I needed when I was in the thick of it, not just in the healed parts and when I've made a safe distance from it, but while I was still in it too. And that's what I've been doing and what I'm doing right now with you. I also want to say right up front, because I think this sets the tone for everything you're about to hear, this season is not going to be polished. It's not all about a successful woman's storyline and keeping it cute. I'm not interested in that type of work, and I want to talk about when I was on the floor. I'm going to tell you about the floor, because the floor is where most of you were messaging me from, and I remember exactly what it felt like. The isolation of it all, the shame, the way it convinces you that you're the only one. You're not the only one. You never were. So let's get into this episode, shall we? If you follow me on any of my social platforms, you may have already caught glimpses of what I'm about to walk you through. There's a video I posted a few months back that a lot of you asked me to expand on. What I'm about to give you is the full story behind it, because so much has happened since last sat down for an episode. And I don't want to just list off updates like we're on Instagram. This is long form. I want to chat. I want to talk. I want to actually catch you up with the real version, the version with the parts that were hard to admit and the parts I'm still really, really proud of, actually. So since you've last seen me, here's where I've been. This episode is brought to you by Bare Minerals. The Complexion Rescue Tinted Moisturizer works almost as hard as us moms do. If you're anything like me, your morning routine needs to be simple but effective. Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Tinted Moisturizer is literally the one-step routine you actually need. It's a moisturizer, sunscreen, and coverage all in 1 minute. It's makeup and skincare that quenches dry skin. It's not just coverage, but actual moisture that works all day, just like we need it to. A busy mom doesn't keep up with her routines. She needs her routines to keep up with her. So save time in your morning routine with the only product you'll need, Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Tinted Moisturizer. Add to cart as soon as you can, because right now you get 20% off your purchase using the code Stephanie20. That's STEPHANY20. Don't forget to take your vitamins and wear your minerals. Thank you to Bare Minerals for sponsoring this episode of the Afterbirth Podcast. Let's start with the thing that changed everything, court. I've actually gone to court twice since you guys last saw me. Both of those hearings resulted in the most freedom I have had in almost a decade. I kid you not, a decade. Since January, I've felt the lightest I've ever been and the most present I have ever been able to be for both myself and for my daughter. But life didn't suddenly become perfect the moment that gavel came down. It became the life I actually wanted to live, a life I fought hard for using the resources that are available to us, but don't necessarily always serve women like me and you. So let me say this very clearly. If you are co-parenting with someone who is abusive, controlling, or displaying the kinds of patterns you'd recognize in narcissistic personality disorder, and I say in my experience very intentionally here, I'm not a clinician. I am a woman who lived it. Your protection does not lie in staying quiet and hoping it resolves itself. It does not lie in trying to reason with someone who isn't operating in good faith. Your protection lies in setting boundaries and using the court system to enforce those boundaries when someone refuses to respect them. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, especially about the court system itself. I'm not going to pretend that it's our savior. The court system is antiquated beyond belief. It was not built to recognize or protect people from the kind of invisible abuse that does not leave a mark and you can't even photograph it. It's slow, it's expensive, it's exhausting. And at times it felt like I was literally explaining a language that no one in the room even wanted to learn. So if you're in it right now, I see you. And I want you to know your best defense in that arena is to stop showing up as a lover or a partner or someone still hoping to be understood. Show up as a secretary. Document everything. Keep your correspondence clean, factual, and dated. Let the paper trail do the emotional labor so you don't have to. Once this recent parenting agreement was finally in place, something shifted in me. I knew I had the launching pad I needed for my next chapter. Because here's what nobody tells you about. Surviving something as chaotic as what I did, you can't actually build anything stable while you're still bracing yourself for the next interference. Once that stopped, though, once I wasn't spending my energy managing someone else's chaos, I could finally point that same energy at moving my life forward. And in January, the court did something that really recognized that for me. It was almost symbolic for me. It supported the work I had already been doing on my own, quietly and for years. I was building a better life for me and my daughter. Raising me, raising her, personified. I know you guys have heard me say that phrase quite enough. But I was officially released from having to pay thousands of dollars just to preserve their parenting access, and my daughter was granted the stability she has always deserved. She's been thriving since, and I could not be more grateful to the Stephanie who never gave up on fighting for what we have now. The one who kept filing the paperwork, showing up to hearings even when it felt pointless, even when I was beyond exhausted, even when part of me just wanted to let go and dance with the devil I know, because fighting was just finishing me. I made my bed back then. I own that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I made every decision perfectly because I didn't. And pretending otherwise would make this whole podcast pretty useless to both of us. But when I did realize I don't have to keep laying in that bed forever, that just because I made this bed at 26 doesn't mean that I need to die in this bed, that's when I became the hero of my own story and my daughter's most visible example of what self-love and perseverance actually looks like. Looks like in practice. If anyone asks me what I hope to accomplish as a mother, here's my answer. It's not to shield her from anything hard that life may throw at her later on. I can't do anything about that. I know that. I can't prevent her from making her own choices in love later on in life. And I wouldn't even try to control that, even if I could. That's just not my job. And I've made peace with that. But should she ever find herself in a situation that doesn't serve her, I want her to know that her mother, through experience, through visible, loud, consistent action, has already left her a road map out. Not a lecture, not a warning she'll roll her eyes at as a teenager. I've been there. Just a roadmap, one that she watched me walk myself, step by step, in real time, while she was old enough to notice. No one taught me how to leave, and I'll be damned if I repeat the same mistake for my daughter. And that's the whole point of court standing. It was never really about winning. It was about her watching what a woman does when she refuses to stay small. This episode is brought to you by Bare Minerals. The Complexion Rescue Tinted Moisturizer works almost as hard as us moms do. If you're anything like me, your morning routine needs to be simple but effective. Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Tinted Moisturizer is literally the one-step routine you actually need. It's a moisturizer, sunscreen, and coverage all in 1 minute. It's makeup and skincare that quenches dry skin. It's not just coverage, but actual moisture that works all day, just like we need it to. A busy mom doesn't keep up with her routines. She needs her routines to keep up with her. So save time in your morning routine with the only product you'll need, Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Tinted Moisturizer. Add to cart as soon as you can because right now you get 20% off your purchase using the code Stephanie20. That's STEPHANY20. Don't forget to take your vitamins and wear your minerals. Thank you to Bare Minerals for sponsoring this episode of the Afterbirth Podcast. Let's talk about Paris. And actually, let's talk about the backlash because I know a lot of you are here specifically for that part. Survival is exhausting. I don't think people fully register that until you lived inside of it. It robs you of time. It robs you of joy. And as a mother, it robs you of the actual motherhood experience that you deserve to have. The slow one, the present one, not the one spent counting down. Throughout the hardest stretch of all of this, I found myself wanting things to hurry up. I wanted my daughter to just get older, faster, so that I could do less of the exhausting logistical dance and so that he could matter less in my day-to-day. Instead of being able to cherish each month, each year, and each moment with my baby that I brought into this world, I was rushing through them, just trying to get to the other side. She's 7 now, and I struggle to remember some of the memories from certain ages. I wasn't fully present for them. I was surviving through them. But I don't want to sit here and dwell in the regret because motherhood doesn't stop from my grief about the years I literally cannot get back. So why should I stop looking forward to the moments and the memories that we're building right now, today, and this year? In order to actually do that, though, to be present instead of just enduring, I knew I had to radically reclaim myself. And to reclaim myself, I had to first reclaim my time. So earlier this summer, I made a decision that a lot of people had opinions about. I took an extended break in Paris, away from my normal life, away from my daughter. I announced it on Instagram and TikTok as moving to Paris. It has always been a dream of mine to actually live there, but life happens and it keeps happening. And dreams like that just get pushed further and further down your priority list. This was my chance, though, to finally chase it, even in a small, temporary way. My original plan was to bring the community along with me, part by part, and show what it actually looks like for a mother to choose herself and how that choice translates into becoming the best version of a mother she can possibly be for her child. That was my intention. But before I even landed, the comments started flooding in. And boy, were they big mad. I had no idea how deep-seated the belief is that motherhood should be coded in struggle and self-sacrifice in order to prove you're actually mothering. That somehow the more miserable and depleted you are, the better of a mother you must be. I don't subscribe to that belief. In fact, I literally reject that entirely. So here's what actually happened. I packed 2 bags. I left my daughter with my brother, who is her primary example of male stability, consistency, and unconditional love. Someone I trust completely with her heart and her routine. And I went to Paris. Once I was there, I put my phone down. I walked so slowly with nowhere to be. I made conversations with strangers when I felt like it. I made 0 plans ahead of time. I chewed my food slowly and without having to share a single bite or cut anyone else's portions before mine. I slept in. I went hours without speaking to another human. I didn't do a single thing I genuinely did not want to. And that was the way I designed it to be. I didn't go to Paris to do the most. I went to Paris to do nothing on purpose for the first time in years. While I was there, I gave my body time to recognize that we were not in fight or flight mode anymore. I gave my nervous system a moment to actually notice the neural pathways we had spent years carving into survival mode, and to start off softer. I went to Paris to exist simply as Stephanie, not as somebody's mother, not as somebody's opposing party in a custody case, not as a content creator managing a persona, just Stephanie, something I have not been able to do in ages. I took care of me. And here's what I know for certain now. Taking care of yourself as a mother is taking care of your kids. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. A depleted woman cannot pour from an empty well, no matter how much love is in her heart, no matter how badly she wants to. I came back a better mother because I went to Paris. Clock that. I want to talk about the backlash for one more second, though, because I don't think it's actually fair to just wave it off completely. The people who are the angriest weren't strangers to the struggle, actually. A lot of them were mothers themselves. Tired mothers, mothers who had never once been given the permission to put themselves first, not even for a week, not even maybe for a weekend. Some of that anger underneath it was grief. Grief for a version of motherhood they never got to have. And I understand that. I empathize with it, even though most of y'all got blocked for those comments. But it means I do hold space for two things. I can protect my peace from people projecting their own unresolved exhaustion onto my choices, but I can still recognize where that anger actually comes from. I could understand that it really wasn't about me. No shade. It's about what they've never themselves had. If you take nothing else from this section, take this. Rest is not something you earn after you've proven that you've suffered enough. Rest is not a reward. It's maintenance. You don't wait for a car to break down on the highway and then take it for an oil change. So you shouldn't wait until you're at the edge to then start taking care of yourself. And this leans right into the next thing I want to talk about. Taking care of yourself and your family isn't only about spa days and chasing the soft life. That's literally the smallest, prettiest piece of it all. Most of the real work is doing the hard, unglamorous things. It requires discipline. And for me, a huge part of that discipline has been around money. Not just maintaining it, but actually growing it and on purpose with strategy behind it. I'm going to keep it very real. Motherhood for me feels so much easier because of money. I can meet my needs and my daughter's needs because I have the resources to do it without asking for anyone's permission. Nobody can tell me what to do because I control the traffic in my own life. And God willing, and Stephanie working, I am never going back to the passenger seat again. But I want to be clear. I'm not selling you a dream. This isn't luck or an overnight windfall. I have had to work. I always worked. I hold 4 degrees. I speak 3 languages. I have a CV filled with corporate accolades, and I spent years as a teacher and an education professional. I have always done what I could and what I need to in order to provide. And I built a genuinely lovely life doing it. But it wasn't until I made the decision to take the thing that was meant to break me and turn it into something that could build me that I actually started to make real money. The kind that changes the shape of the options, not just the money that pays the bills. And once that door opened for me, I made sure to open that same door for my daughter. Now, I get a lot of ignorant strangers online commenting, claiming that I live off of my daughter. And yeah, I could laugh that off. Yes, I could block them and move on, and I do. But I do want to just talk about it for just a second here on the record, in my own voice. As a 36-year-old educated Black woman and mother, I take care of my household. I have always worked. I will always seek to work smarter, not just harder. Those comments do bother me a little, and here's why. 1, my content has never been centered around my child. It has always been about me and how I relate to motherhood and womanhood and the intersection between the two. You may see my daughter show up in my content because my content is about my life and she is part of it. And number 2, it's made me pay really close attention to how many grown adults are so comfortable being loud about relating to a child more than they relate to the woman their own age who's doing the hard, deliberate work of raising said child. Those people get blocked too, for what it's worth. But I say all that to say this. When you see me now, you're looking at a woman who has done and is still doing the work to shepherd a life I once only dreamed about. I've always known how to earn money, but it wasn't until last year that I actually learned how to grow it. With the help of my financial advisor, who honestly has become something more like my life advisor at this point, my business has cleared 7 figures in the last year. The flex is not the money here, y'all. The flex is what happens after you reclaim yourself and your life. And I want to say something to the women listening right now who feel like money is the furthest thing from her reality. Maybe you're still splitting the bills you shouldn't have to split alone. Maybe you're watching every dollar. Maybe the idea of a financial advisor sounds like a luxury for you right now, for a different tax bracket altogether. I was there. I was there with 4 degrees and a resume full of accolades, still counting down to payday. The 7 figures didn't happen because the door was suddenly easier for me to walk through. It happened because I stopped waiting for someone else to open it. And I started treating my own resourcefulness like the asset it always was. That shift is available to you at any income level. It starts small. It starts with one honest conversation with your money, even when the conversation is uncomfortable. We're absolutely going to talk about money this season, how to make it, how to maintain it, and how to grow it, step by step, the way nobody explained it to me when I really needed it the most. So if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the follow button on your listening platform so you don't miss an episode of the Afterbirth podcast. New episodes will drop weekly. You can also follow us on Instagram at the Afterbirth Collective for the conversations that happen in between episodes. This episode is brought to you by Bare Minerals. The Complexion Rescue Tinted Moisturizer works almost as hard as us moms do. If you're anything like me, your morning routine needs to be simple but effective. Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Tinted Moisturizer is literally the one-step routine you actually need. It's a moisturizer, sunscreen, and coverage all in 1 minute. It's makeup and skincare that quenches dry skin. It's not just coverage, but actual moisture that works all day, just like we need it to. A busy mom doesn't keep up with her routines. She needs her routines to keep up with her. So save time in your morning routine with the only product you'll need. Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Tinted Moisturizer. Add to cart as soon as you can because right now you get 20% off your purchase using the code Stephanie20. That's STEPHANY20. Don't forget to take your vitamins and wear your minerals. Thank you to Bare Minerals for sponsoring this episode of the Afterbirth podcast. And now to the most recent news. We moved. New city, new home, but same covering over our lives and really the same foundation. We're in our first home. I can't believe I'm saying that. And it has genuinely been both amazing and interesting so far. Y'all, it's all fun and games until the other day I had to literally drag the trash out to the curb by myself in the dark. I love independence, but it literally gets to a point, okay? But like everything else in my life, I feel like the theme here is nobody else is going to do this for you. And I'm very familiar with that lesson. So if you don't get up, the trash is not going to be taken out. If you don't do the work, then the work is not going to be done. I do recognize that I am very blessed to even have this as my problem. I would much rather trash cans instead of court dates. There's a version of me not that many years ago who would have traded almost anything to have the trash cans are heavy be the biggest inconvenience of her week. Like I said before, there has been a lot I have gone through, and it's way more than I'm going to be able to unpack in this one episode. But just know that I never stopped moving forward. Never once did I lose sight of what I knew my life could look like and feel like, even when it looked absolutely nothing like it does now. And that's the running thread under every single thing I've just shared with you. Court, Paris, the money, this new house, none of it happened because my circumstances changed first. My circumstances changed because I refused to let what was happening to me define my life or limit the possibilities over it. So what can we look forward to this season? Every episode is going to circle back to why we're named Afterbirth in the first place. We birth ourselves over and over again, as many times as it takes. Not once, not on some fixed timeline, not with a neat before and after photo. Over and over for as long as we're alive and paying attention to who we're becoming. This is a brand new podcast in a lot of ways. There's a new voice, new perspective. What we were doing in season 1 is not what we're doing now. Back then, we had a lot of genuinely valuable conversations with brilliant women, and I'm proud of that season. It laid the groundwork for everything I'm about to do here. But for this new season, I want to be more intentional. I want to speak directly to the women who are standing exactly where I was standing, not looking back on it from a safe distance with all the answers already sorted out, but in right now, messy and unresolved and doing the best they can with what they've got. You're here to learn how to grow past it and how to actually thrive in the aftermath, not just survive it. You can expect episodes on co-parenting with someone who won't co-parent in good faith. Expect episodes on rebuilding your finances from nothing and what it actually takes to grow money from where you are. Expect conversations about dating again, about friendship, and about who you're allowed to become when you no longer need anyone's approval. Some weeks it'll just be me, while on other weeks I'll bring on a guest expert to walk this road with us. Every week, though, it will be honest. I'm so excited about this season, guys. I'm excited to walk with you through your own rebirth and through everything that's left behind in the afterbirth of it. I'll see you weekly for the rest of this season. We have come such a long way since episode 1 of season 1, and I genuinely cannot wait to welcome you into this new chapter for both of us. Talk soon.